Hey everyone, Nick Engvall here. Before we get into today's episode, I want to tell you about some of the people that make the sneaker history community and this podcast possible. It's more important than ever to think about who you give your money to when you're buying clothing to go with your kicks. Our friends at Guilty Goods started their brand with a goal of giving back, especially to the communities that make sneaker culture possible. With every purchase from Guilty Goods, at least 10% of the proceeds are donated to organizations like Big Brothers and Big Sisters, the Susan G. Komen Foundation, the Movement for Black Lives, and many more. You can save 30% on your order by using the code HISTORY at guiltygoods.us. Again, that's history at guiltygoods.us for 30% off, and you can feel good about your purchase knowing you're supporting a meaningful cause. Sneakers are all about presentation, and if you're like me, displaying your kicks at home or in the office is just as important as when they're on your feet. Sneaker Throne makes sneaker display cases featuring customizable LED lights, drop-side cases to showcase the entire side of the shoe, not just the heel or the toe, the whole shoe. They've also got display cases for trading card collectors and hat collectors. To me, it's the perfect way to display your collection. You can save at least 10% on your Sneaker Throne order by using the code HISTORY at sneakerthrone.com. That's history at sneakerthrone.com. If you're a Patreon supporter or a member of our Discord community, you already know about Kicks with V hot sauce and his small batch, locally sourced hot sauce. V has been one of the biggest supporters of sneaker history and the podcast since the early days. He's currently the defending champion in our community trivia nights competition. Kicks with V hot sauce has been a huge hit with the community. You can save 10% on your order by using the code SneakerHistory10 at kickswithvhots.com. That's SneakerHistory10 at kickswithvhots.com. Now, you're probably here because you like sneakers, and if you join the Discord, you know our community is about so much more than that. Whether it's the marathon-like community calls, trivia night debates, the in-person meetups, or just sharing our favorite experiences, we found that although we have such different backgrounds, we all have some unexpected shared passions. Not only does the entire community look out for each other when it comes to releases, we're like a support group for life in general. You can join the Discord community for free by heading to the show notes of this episode. After you're done listening to this episode, tell someone you like their kicks today. You never know how far a simple compliment can take you, and we all know how good it feels to have someone show their appreciation. Now let's get into today's episode. What up, what up? Welcome back to the Sneaker History Podcast. Hey, before we get into this episode, I wanted to tell you about a couple of our partners. These are some of the folks that help us keep the podcast going, and they've been nice enough to offer some exclusive discounts for our listeners. Now, if you've watched us on YouTube, you all know how we love to display our kicks when we're not rocking them. Sneaker Throne makes sneaker display cases featuring customizable LED lights, drop-side cases to showcase your entire shoe, not just the heel, not just the toe, shoe trees, a number of other sneaker-related accessories. You can save 10% on your Sneaker Throne order by using the code HISTORY. You can find a link to Sneaker Throne in the description, or you can just head to sneakerhistory.com/sneakerthrone and it will send you directly to their site. Again, that's 10% off with the code HISTORY. Our friends at Prospect are the premier streetwear brand and sneaker boutique based in sunny San Diego, California. One of my favorite places. Prospect is not your typical hypebeast haven, though. They carry classic footwear from brands like Asics, New Balance, Puma, Saucony, as well as local and globally known streetwear brands like Belief, Illust, Rottweiler, Stussy, and many others. Not to mention their own Prospect label and the iconic Just a Kid from Dago collection. If you're a listener of the podcast, you can save 10% on all of your orders from Prospect through their website with the code HISTORY10. That's promo code HISTORY10 at prspctsd.com. Now, if you're a Patreon supporter or a member of our Discord community, you already know about Kicks with V hot sauce and his small batch, locally sourced hot sauce. V has been one of the biggest supporters of sneaker history and the podcast since the early days, and his hot sauce has been a huge hit with the community. To celebrate the launch of his new coffee habanero flavor hot sauce and his new habanero honey, my personal favorite, he's given an exclusive discount to our podcast listeners. The first 50 people to use the code SneakerHistory10 will save 10% on their order from kickswithvhots.com. That's SneakerHistory10 at kickswithvhots.com. If you or someone you know is interested in sponsoring the podcast or becoming a partner with our community, get in touch with us. You can reach us by email at podcast@sneakerhistory.com, and we'll get back to you with information about how we can partner. And now for today's episode.
Jordan trying to shake off Starks. Oh, what a move!
LeBron James with no regard for human life. Final seconds. Bryant for the win. Iverson against Gill. The crowd on its feet. Allen for the win.
Welcome to the Sneaker History Podcast.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to another fantastic episode of the Sneaker History Podcast. I'm Robbie with my two bros. Are we using bros ironically now, bros? How my
I'm Bro
bros?
Malhotra.
Bro. I just go by the name of Bro.
Bro.
You know it's high quality stuff when you start and end a sentence with bro. Bruh.
I was talking to Mike about this off air, but the whole must be nice generation rankles me, but I really appreciate the bro generation. So bro on, bros.
That was wholesome. Generation there.
What's the must be nice generation?
Oh, just the passive aggressive hating. Like anytime you like to talk about how awesome you're doing in life, somebody inevitably will be the whole, oh, must be nice to have your own shoe, or must be nice to speak in a sentence properly. And you're going to be like, you know what? It is nice. It's exceptionally nice.
See, I've only heard that used genuinely, really.
That's good.
In recent memory. So yeah, I haven't heard, but that's shady as hell. Forget people like that. This is not going to be a shady episode. This is going to be a fun, uplifting, positivo episode. Before we jump into our main topics and everything, let's go ahead and tell the people what we're rocking and copping, or what we have been rocking and soon to be copping. Rohit, you're shaking your head like you're ready to go.
He's like, yeah.
I am.
What do you have? Nice.
I've worn these before, and I will use them because we have a special episode for everybody that we will get into later on. But HTM Air Max, I believe for the first Air Max day, simple shoe, has evolved into my beater, but it can clearly take a beating and keep on repeating. So that's my shoe. As for what I'm copping, I don't know. I think I'm going to sit this one out from a copping perspective. One too many sneaker losses are still kind of weighing on my mind, and I'm wondering if I should pull a Guillory and not be on the app for a little bit. Speaking of Guillories, Mike, how are you?
I'm good, man. And I'm still like breathing in a fresh air of that freedom of not seeing the sneakers app pop up on my phone. I'll probably give it another 30 days before I put it back on. But right now, I'm living good, man. What I am rocking, me and my oldest were outside skateboarding earlier, so I had to break out the New York to Paris SB Jordan 1s. As you can see, they are clearly used. What I am copping, I think I'm having maybe some Yeezy Day blues / withdrawals. I'm kind of eyeing a pair of the 700 Inflame Ambers, whatever they call it. Closest I'm getting to a Wave Runner without paying Wave Runner prices, so kind of on the list of items there. What about you, Robbie?
This is what you could do though. You could just hold off a little longer and just get the actual Wave Runner instead of something that's like close to the Wave Runner. You could just have what you want.
Again? When's it coming out again?
Doesn't matter. I mean, if you're willing to spend money on the Nigel Sylvester, why wouldn't you spend money on the Wave Runner? I think the Wave Runner is even cheaper than the Nigel Sylvester.
Probably. That's
Jordan 1.
Probably.
We'll so I heard you throwing that shoe out there. I'm like, that's a great shoe. But if you're willing to spend that, but you won't do the Easy, you're already like probably $350 with the Ember shoe. What's $200 more? That's one GR purchase. It's literally one purchase of other shoe.
I'm having some kind of withdrawals on the Nigel Sylvester because I feel like I'm kind of creating one myself at this point with these. So it's like, you know me, like certain dollar amounts, I'm like, ugh. It's kind of like a threshold of like 350 is like my threshold. After that, I'm like, this is just nonsense. So no matter how much money is saved up, it's just like, oh, this is really hard for me to push this button, even though I know it's strictly for this.
I've been obsessed with this channel called 2 Cents by PBS. I've shouted it out on the Discord. But compartmentalizing your spending is like you're playing with yourself because like every dollar is non-fungible. So at the end of the day, you could say, I won't spend $350 on one pair of shoes, but Mike, I know you will buy 4 pairs of $180 to $150 pair of shoes.
Will.
You do that math.
It takes up less space too.
It does. But they brought up like putting pots away for money. Like it's good in some senses. Like, all right, I have X amount of dollars for going out to eat this month. But when it comes to like buying stuff, is ultimately you're going to use that dollar the same way, just it looks a little different. So
it does. This makes me feel
to our listeners too. Financial wisdom. It's just like
this is not financial advice. Do not come after us after you hear this.
No, it's not advice. It's wisdom. It's it really is. It's definitely not any type of. Everybody's financial situation is very, very different.
That's payment poppy.
But when it comes to shoes, it's like, man, I'm guilty of it too. You spend 4 GR Jordans, that's like $800 So it's like, am I going to wear all 4 of those shoes? Do I have 4 pairs of feet? How many? Like, you have at least 30, 40 pairs behind you.
Look,
so
we
it's
don't
like,
talk about that. Look, you don't need to
picking
see
up
all
4 more pairs versus one more that you really want and said, ooh, they're kind of like another pair when you could just have the pair you ultimately want.
It's a crack habit, bruh. Look, you don't understand. This is literally all that's like crack. You can like it's the Tyrone Bigham style, you know?
No, it definitely is. But just get your brain not yours particularly, just get our listeners' brains spinning.
Because I'm like, you're right. Because I just looked them up. So the Inflames were 320. The Wave Runner's 476. So I was like, all right, you're right.
Don't buy a second shoe and just get one.
And I have like $300 credit at GOAT. So like, okay, I can make this. I can justify this.
This has turned into Guilty Conscious, the sneakerhead version, where Robbie's the Eminem character and I'm trying to be Dr. Dre. But at the end of the song, I'm agreeing with Robbie. Go ahead and pull the trigger, my dude.
100%.
Yeah, I was like, stretch the dollar. I like to stretch the dollar, bro.
But at this point, I mean, if you're a beginning sneakerhead and you don't have 40, 50 pairs of shoes already, stretching the dollar makes total sense. But at this point, there has to be some kind of anxiety when you look at it and you're like, I don't want to wear any of these. Because you definitely have the thought where you're like, I don't want to wear any of these fucking shoes. I have all these shoes. I want Wave Runners. But you won't buy the Wave Runner. You'll buy the one that's like a Wave Runner that'll eventually sit there like the other shoes and you won't want to wear it.
Bro.
You're telling on yourself, Mike.
It is literally like, this is, just madness inside the brain for when it comes to sneakers. Just all the justifications and ideas of like, ooh, this is better. Bro, we need to have just a sneaker history therapy episode just for me and my weird habits of how I buy things.
Mm-hmm. We will one day. It'll just be... We'll actually just not even tell you there's an episode going on. We'll tell you last minute, and you'll enter.
It's an intervention.
Where's Liz Beak, bro? Maybe I need her. Just like bring her on. Like help me out.
Yes, we'll have a talk about your habits.
No, we'll just make her name tag on the episode Nick Engvall and be like, "What happened to Nick?" And be like, "What are you questioning?" That's Nick.
Get you some professional help.
Yes.
So, I mean, for me personally, so I've been rocking the past couple of days because
nice.
I bought these and I'm like, I really like wearing them, so I wear them a lot. And it's funny because I looked at other shoes I wanted to wear and I was like, I don't want to wear any of these. I want to wear these fucking shoes. So it's like I have all these shoes in the world and it's like, no, I want to wear, I think they're not even like reselling for a lot. I got them for retail, but like it's so funny. I play the game with myself too. So when it comes to copping, my answer is nothing because I have subscribed to my own train of thought. The last pair of shoes I bought for myself were a pair of New Balance 550s they're going to get here in like a month. They're so back ordered. So I paid $100 like 4 weeks ago. And that's my last purchase. So because I don't need I tried to get all the Yeezys on Yeezy Day. We'll talk a little bit more about that probably for a second, but do I need to go buy a pair of Bread Yeezy 350 V2s for $500 when there's like other shoes I want that are probably like $800, and then I could just not buy a second shoe or just buy no shoes for a long time and not feel weird about it when I want to buy something I really want. So personally, my wallet hasn't been opening for many things, looking for the right thing. Now, other meaningless bullshit, those have been getting purchased that are not shoes. That's a different conversation.
Tell us more.
When it comes to footwork, no, those are my guilty pleasures. But yeah, have not with the shoes, but everything else in life, definitely. Do we have any reviews? No,
we have no reviews. I'm disgusted by our listenership. You guys are clowns. If you dislike me so much, write a review about it. Back to you, Robbie.
It's funny. I was looking back. Yeah, must be nice. I did notice the Complex podcast has over 1,000 reviews already. I'm like, damn, that's crazy. So we're almost at 200. We're almost at 200. So
let's see. We're a budget podcast.
Yes.
They're that $800 pair of sneakers that a lot of people are getting. We could be one of 4. Just throwing that out there.
Very true. But if you want to help us get to that 200 threshold, we would very much appreciate it.
Yes.
But to everybody who is tuned in now and in the future, we appreciate you being here with us. Like I alluded to a moment ago, Yeezy Day came and went. I think for a lot of people, the went aspect is a very important part of that statement. Did anybody here have any luck? Nods?
Better than that.
Shakes? I mean, I had to ask anyway. everybody was pretty much trying.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Robbie.
No, I was saying everybody was pretty much trying for me, so I kind of knew the answer because I didn't pay anybody.
Well, I mean, I feel like Yeezy Day was built for my schedule at this point with a newborn because they started shoes at like 4 a.m. or 6 a.m. I'm like, well, I'm up, but Jesus, it's not the first thing on my mind. Like, I saw people getting multiple pairs of certain ones, or not. It was like they had more stock of like the green glow one, or I don't know the actual name for it. The 700 V3 glow, and of course, I think maybe a couple of the kid sizes they had more stock of, but it was impossible, man. I was using up all the bandwidth on my computer with all these different waiting rooms I was sitting in. Felt like I'm like, all right, well, I'm just gonna chill out.
Well, don't fret, guys. There's another stock that's going to drop according to Yeezy Supply right now in 16 days, 10 hours, 4 minutes, and 3 seconds.
If it ain't Donda, I don't care. I want the music. I don't care about the shoe right now. I'm dealing with this Wave Runner conundrum in my brain already.
So, no luck at all from you two. I had at least 4 to 5 people in the Discord trying to help also. 2019 Yeezy Day, I got 3 pairs. And so I was really hopeful to at least get one. So whatever. Because at the end of the day, I was trying to buy. I did the math in my head with all the entries. I probably would have spent like close to $2,000 if every single one of them would have hit. And that's just me hitting alone. So I was like, oh shit! If 4 people buy these glow in the darks, I got to pay out 4 people. But
that is one of my biggest anxieties because I want to ask people to help me out, and then my worst fear is like, great, everybody's going to hit on this random mid-size release, and I'm going to have 4 pairs of a random 13 colorway that's not going to amount to a hill of beans. So,
well, with that case, the one benefit of, I will call them bottom of the barrel, resellers is like somebody's always going to buy a shoe off you for $28 over. So if you really do need to get rid of something, you can at least get lunch out of your poor purchases. True. So someone's always going to buy it off you. Always going to buy it off you. So that does suck, but it's like, yeah, man, consumerism. I would have spent like $2,000 on Yeezys on shoes. I really probably only liked really $400 to $600 worth of it. So crazy, man. Life's crazy. History's crazy. The history of our next shoe and our main topic is kind of crazy. So this is always my favorite time of the year. I really love to see when the next installment of any type of shoe comes out. It can be historically summertime and Kevin Durant shoe. It can historically be, October and LeBron shoe. It can be this time of the year. So spring, summer, and we get Nike's Air Max. So this year we're going back to numbered units. We have the Air Max 2021 coming off the heels of the Air Max 2090. I have a whole thing. I wrote out some random shoes. I have some random Air Maxes in mind that may have been forgotten. I wanted to bring up the new model and the history of Air Max without just telling everybody, here's the Air Max 1. Here's the Air Max 90. Here's the Air Max Plus. So to avoid that kind of thing, I kind of just wanted to start off with divulging a little bit of information about the 2021. This is Nike's, again, flagship lifestyle-specific Air Max shoe. So unlike the 90 and the 1 and other past models, this most primarily of the 2000s, 80s, and 90s, they were all the pinnacle running shoe, the pinnacle Air Max tech, shock absorption heel unit. So they were the hottest and best. Now Air Max is almost exclusively, from like a heritage standpoint, a lifestyle shoe. So the Air Max 2021 is not designed to be ran in, but it's different in all the good ways. I personally see, and I want to get the thoughts of both of you. I personally see a lot of inspiration from like the women's models we've been having released over the past couple of years, but it's more like rounded shape and big exaggerated heel in a good way. I like how the exposed Air Max unit is different. I'll let somebody else kind of break down what that looks like. But I like it's rounded. It's more soft look compared to the very aggressively lined Air Max 2090. So from an initial standpoint, initial look, these shoes are actually out now, so you can go get a pair when you're listening to this. I'm a fan of them. How do you guys interpret the Air Max unit, and what do you think about the shoe?
Me personally, I'm not a fan of the shoe. To be fair, I think the last Air Max really, I guess they're really what their marquee Air Max I really liked was like the Flyknit Air Max that they did a few years back. I know we'll probably talk about some of those later, but I don't know. I feel like they're kind of going at it again. I understand they're going with the casual approach, but I like the really sleek performance models like we got back with 06 or was 2010, 11, 12, those things like that. I'm not really feeling these. It's not that it looks like because it's like you said has more of the looks of some of the women models. Not at all. That's not the issue. Just the fact I feel like the Air Max is kind of that has its own lane. Like the marquee Air Max should be a performance shoe to me. And I just when they went away from it with like even last year was it 2090. I wasn't a fan. It's just I feel like they've kind of lost their edge, lost their allure because I used to be super excited to see what the new Air Max would look like, and now I'm just like I feel like they just have their attention elsewhere, and they're just trying to say, hey, how big can we make the air bubble? Can we make it wild? I mean, the sole's cool. I like the fact how the air bubbles is different to set up, but other than that, I'm not a fan of really anything about the shoe.
Okay.
So I think it's an interesting point that you called out because in my mind as well, this doesn't feel like an Air Max because the letter of the law tells me an Air Max shoe is meant for activity. This is very much I'm just going to chill on brunch and, hey, look, there's kind of a flubber-like substance in my shoe. It is unique looking. I do kind of like the aesthetic that it has. And to Robbie's point, the exaggerated helps it in my mind because as I'm kind of looking through the actual posting on Nike.com and I see the gentleman that's modeling it, it works given that ensemble. But I do worry about the durability of it. And I know that this is just me kind of projecting my own insecurities, but as he's kind of bending down, I could almost see a situation where the bubble almost collapses on itself and then you have a busted Air Max shoe. And that's what scares me. But people are going to rock it. They're going to make it look cool. And yeah, it's not for me, but I get it. And I hope that this continues that trajectory. Though, do you guys think there's a possibility maybe in the future that they'll have almost like a split pack for an Air Max where we'll see one Air Max that's more performance-based while the other one is aesthetics?
I hope so.
Because to me, that's like the happy medium between the two. Because I totally get where you're coming from, Mike, where it's like, okay, Air Max means I have to be able to run in the shoe. It's the origin of the shoe. It's what made it popular. But at the same time, they are kind of feeding the people that have kept their bread buttered, so to speak, by saying this is more lifestyle or sportswear, depending on how you want to look at it. Athleisure, yeah.
So, I mean, devil's advocate, there are so many technical running shoes out there. I mean, Mike, are you really going to go buy... or anybody really, myself included, you're going to go buy an Air Max model over like, not just that, but even in-house at Nike, they have the Next Percent.
Like
you have
things like that.
The Pegasus. Yeah, you have so many other shoes. Like, I don't look to Air Max anymore the same way you don't look to a Question for a performance basketball shoe anymore. Like, this shit's fucking 20 years old. So it's like...
It's not the sense I'm going to run in it. It's just the fact I like the look. I just like the more aggressive look of the shoe. I just think the softer look is just not for me. Nothing wrong with it for the person who likes it. Just for me personally, that's just the ones that I liked. I mean, just the more streamlined. Even looking at your Air Max 90 pulled up, although it is more of a casual shoe now because we're not running in that. I mean, if you do, God bless your feet. But it is still more. Look at that shoe, and then look at this 2021. It is that Air Max 90 is more streamlined than this one. And you would expect more of a bulky, bulbous type shoe back in the early 90s. You're getting more of that now. I don't know if they're trying to get back to the trend of the chunky dad type shoe. We're still on that particular wave, but I just feel like the Air Max should be more of it. Again, marquee Air Max sneakers should be more the streamlined performance looking. Doesn't have to be, I'm not going running them, but just give me the look of, hey, this is Air Max heritage as opposed to, hey, we just want to see how big we get this bubble and see if hopefully it doesn't pop on you. You know what I mean?
So you like that angular Air Max as opposed to the soft Air Max?
Yeah.
Because the first impression I get, to your point, bulbous is a fantastic word. I was going to go gelatinous, and there's our ACT word for the episode.
Yeah.
There is something inherently squishy about this shoe that does make me wonder, like, even if you are going to use it for the aesthetics or the lifestyle or the athleisure, how long will this shoe last? Is this something that we're supposed to wear every day when we're being lazy, sloth-like creatures, or is this reserved for even the holiest of cheat days where you're truly not doing anything other than just lounging around eating a tub of cookie dough?
So you have a lot going on under the hood. So I get what you're saying. It looks softer and everything, but a great thing about Nike Air Max is that if that air bubble pops, they'll replace your shoe. So you're not just gonna pop a shoe and be like, oh no, I only have one left shoe, like I'm SOL. No. So I mean, if it does happen, you just get another pair. So I've never felt weird about how aggressive or how crazy, because my Vapor Maxes, something could very easily go through a pair of Vapor Max, and if anything did, I know that I'm ultimately covered without having to buy a special pair or a special make of like shoe insurance, like air insurance. And this shoe, so that kind of has like a ripstop like material going through it. That's really not top of the line tech, but it being hollowed out throughout the midsole, making it lighter and allowing you to kind of have. So when you have the hollowed out foam in the front, it acts similarly to what air does. So it's not going to have like the full compression and rebound, but it's going to have the compression in your forefoot, allowing you to kind of feel something and have a little bit of added lightness in the forefoot. So you have a really crazy heel, and then you have like a fake kind of air feeling in the forefoot. So there's definitely like tech properties or techniques being used here that make it a new cutting edge Air Max. I totally get what you two were saying though, because my first initial look at it was okay, but I've actually been checking it out now for the past day and a half, and I'm like, okay, like I like them a lot more. I love the 270. I know a lot of people didn't like the 270 React. Like, I have a couple versions of various 270s, and I like the big aggressive air units. So unleashing it and kind of having it be more airy, with it being able to squish and the columns kind of give loose in this Air Max 2021, that's really cool to me. And above all, it's sustainable. So it's supposed to be over 20%. At least 20% recycled content. What that means, IDK, but you can't say 20%. That's 1/5, man. That's a good piece of pie being recycled. So I mean, there's definitely some cool techniques in here to make it a new Air Max, but both of your comments I think make great sense also. So we have a little list here. I'm probably not going to go through all of them now anymore, because there's some here. It's like, I want to talk about the Air Butane, but that's probably better for a straight up obscure Air Max episode. So we'll hold off on that. I actually want to start off with, I'm going to skip Vapor Max too, because Vapor Max isn't that cool. We all fucking know about Vapor Max. I'm one of the few people who enjoy Vapor Max, like thoroughly thinks they're cool shoes. So whatever. Pat on the back to Robbie. I like Vapor Max.
Good on you.
But let's start off here with some of the newer things like Mike was talking about. You could even go, I said 2011 and 2015 because those are my two favorite of the new age Air Max. But let's just go from like 2010 to like 2015. Like, do you guys have any standouts or favorites in that, what I call the heritage years? The Air Max unit. They call it a heritage airbag because they can use it across different models. With it kind of changing the top, right? So it's like, oh, you keep the same engine, but you just change the frame around it. So from like 2010 to 15, there was a little variance, but for the most part, they're all the same Air Max bubble.
I really like the Air Max Zero, and I guess the mythology about it when Nike decided, hey, we're going to take a day out of the calendar and dedicate it to promoting, advocating, celebrating the Air Max, and then you get the backstory of, okay, Tinker wanted to do this, and it's 30 years after the initial Air Max. So that was something that I really enjoyed. There was something simple about it, and I tend to prefer simple sneakers more often than not. But yeah, that was the first one when you kind of gave us that assignment of, okay, think about this particular era of Air Max. What's the one you gravitate towards? I would go Air Max Zero.
I love that one too.
2011 is my favorite Air Max sneaker of like I said, all the marquees in that time frame when they started releasing that year model with the, like you said, the heritage bag. I don't know, something about the fuse and just the colors. They just were so bright, brilliant sneakers. My favorite was the Max Orange 2011. The thing looked like a freaking traffic cone, but it was amazing. I bought it when I worked at Champs in college during like when employee appreciation day or whatever that they have every quarter. So I got them for like next to nothing. Yeah, dude, I think I had them until recently. Till they were just I beat them until they just couldn't be like worn anymore. So one of those sneakers, if they ever retroed, I'd be first in line to get them.
Another crazy sneakerhead mannerism. I'm gonna wear a pair of Air Maxes until they're literally bleeding. While I still go buy all these other shoes, I'm not going to wear very much while I still wear the Air Maxes over and over and over again.
We need help.
I was very fortunate. I got hired at Nike Las Vegas at the tail end of the 2010. So I got a pair of Air Max 2010s as my staff dress. And then like 2 weeks later, a pair of 2011s as the staff dress. I got two pairs, so they had to switch everybody out. So I also had both of those pairs. One of them got stolen. One of them, my trunk got flooded, and I didn't realize my trunk flooded, and they molded. So they all gone. Pair of Kobe 5s were also in the back of that truck that also got molded out.
No. Which colorway?
I like the Laker home ones. Yeah, and then the Pop Kobe 5s got stolen too. Yeah, life sucks sometimes, but you live. A lot of shoes come and go. But again, like most things with shoes, that another one's just going to come out. I'm a huge fan of the 02, 2011 also. But the 15 and 2011 are probably my favorites, along with the 0. Man, I like all of them. I like all this new stuff. I'm not gonna lie. There's some I really don't care for all the way. Like the pre-day, it's okay. I think my mind would probably change if I had them on foot. But I just from curb appeal, I feel like they're a little too much of a dad shoe. Like it's like a white kind of. It's like a Shox, but it's an Air Max. It's weird. Not my thing. So this one here is from the so the turn of the century at the 2000s started happening. The Air Max 360, the first shoe to have a truly like full air bubble. So think of like the Vapor Max before the Vapor Max. And this shoe came out. I had to double check myself. I want to say it's 2005, but it's 2006. So the 360 in 2006, they actually went and did a whole breakout line like they've done in other tech years where you have the 360 BB for basketball. Then you have like the 360 BB Amari Stoudemire for him in basketball. So you can go like so many different ways. But the 360, I think we've had retro with a Vapor Max tooling. We've had it retro, I think, with like Air Max like 90 tooling or some shit. Like so many weird like mutant versions of it. And I would really love to see a clean version of the 360. You guys got love for that shoe?
I actually like that one.
The influence of that shoe as it kind of shaped that next generation after its inception and its release kind of makes me appreciate the shoe even more. But yeah, I mean, what you said about it is probably top notch and I can't even beat it. So I will just tip my hat to you, sir. Well done.
They did a heritage bag version of it, I believe.
That makes sense to me.
I want to say, I think I remember that vaguely.
But the Amari stuff was cool. So they had the Air Max 360 BB Stat, which he wore in the Vegas All-Star game in a white and gold colorway. I wanted to bring him up. I wanted to also bring up like the Air Max, the Operate, just stuff that makes you think of like early, I guess kind of mid 2000s now. Like, time is so crazy. Nelly was hot. Nelly era Air Max stuff. And it's very interesting. It's very encapsulated of the time. It fits in that niche outside of 2006 to 2010. I don't know if it still works, but who knows? I posted about this one earlier today, and we actually got Chris Bosch to comment on the post. And I was like, oh, shit, Chris Bosch actually commented. The Air Max Hyperposit from 2012 made popular by one Chris Bosch in his championship years. You also had like Anthony Davis, Rajon Rondo, LaMarcus Aldridge, just crazy PEs of that shoe. A big old chunker. That's when like Nike was really trying to do new things with like foam posit. Like, okay, we're going to call it Hyperposit, and we're going to put the fattest airbag unit we can on it. 360. And it's a beast, man. It's I remember holding it, and this is a heavy freaking shoe. but it's a cool looking shoe. And
I
shout out
wanted
to
the
Chris
Statue
Bosch.
of Liberty pair so bad, but that was when basketball shoes still sold out, and that was one of the ones that it was hard to get your hands on.
Mm-hmm.
I love that shoe. Like,
It's
looking
so cool.
back on it, it's so cool. There's nothing. It's so unique. Like, you put that on the Foot Locker shoe walls of the world, people are going to gravitate towards it if it's there. And to your point, Mike, I think it's going to get not its proper due because it was unfortunately a victim of that era's success. Because to your point, anything that was basketball related got RoboCop so quickly, and half the people probably didn't even realize the shoe existed. And Chris Bosch did wonders for it. So great shoe.
Mm-hmm. Very, very nice. There was a second one, so the Hyperposit Max 2, which kind of looked like if Skeletor was a shoe, had the very like bony looking design, kind of like an exoskeleton look. Anthony Davis is the only person. I think DeMarcus Cousins. Those are the only two people I saw or remember wearing that shoe. There's probably other people in the league, but those are the two. Anthony Davis had a very clean, like red and navy, Pelicans friendly colorway. But it was Anthony Davis and, again, DeMarcus kind of like leading the flagship team shoes for Nike for a long time, which brings me to my next one. I wanted to say the Hyperize, and that's the one we're going to talk about, but you could also throw in pretty much any year Hyperdunk from like 2009 to 2014-ish, where they would just throw a fucking Air Max unit on the bottom. But all right, cool, we got an Air Max version. You got a Hyperdunk with Zoom Air, and it's lighter, it's fast, blah, 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 blah. But then we got a big boy version for like Pau Gasol. It's going to have an Air Max full length in the bottom. But the Hyperize from 2009 rings true to me because it's like pre-Kevin Durant signature shoe. And you have like Kevin Durant, Andre Iguodala, and Lamar Odom.
Mo Williams with his sixth finger on his left hand. Everybody remembers the infamous hip hop spot, and I think Kevin Durant's name was Velvet Hoop, and I was just captivated by that because it seemed to capture that early '90s Arrested Development aesthetic better than a lot of other things, and everybody on the song could flow. That was probably the most shocking part about it.
True.
The Hyperize for me, that was so. That time when a Hyperdunk is at peak popularity is almost it was very hard to get. Cannot remember the price point of the Hyperdunk when it released to save my life. I was in college and I remember broke college student, so that was one thing, and B, I just couldn't find them out in Waco half the time. Like they would come and go because of just all the high school basketball players and then the college hoopers as well. But I was able to get a pair of white, black and red Hyperize Air Max from Finish Line for like $79. That was the shoe I played intramural basketball in. I played till that thing just couldn't play anymore, and I love that shoe.
Remind me, was it 120 for the price point? Because that's the number that seems to pop up in my mind, but I'm almost thinking that might be too low.
I thought it was more.
I
just
feel like
can't
it's
remember.
too low. I thought I wanted 140,
150. Yeah.
Okay.
But I got these for $79 at Finish Line in a hash wall because everybody went to Hyperdunk. So Hyperize was like not quite, their cup of tea. So I was like, I will take it. I need hoop shoes.
Perfect.
And they man, I wish I still had them now.
They were, I think the marketing is cooler than the shoe. It definitely was just like a takedown version of the Hyperdunk, but there's been cool takedown versions of shoes since there's been shoes and takedown versions of them. So this next one, I always feel like it looks like a takedown shoe, but it can't be a takedown of its own line. The Air Max Griffey 3, like every Griffey after like the first one. I almost want to throw the Griffey. I'm going to throw the Griffey 2 in here with it. So the 2 and the 3, I believe they came out in like 97 and 98 or 98 and 99 respectively. If 96 was the Griffey 1, I would say they took a 1-year hiatus and then did 2 in a row, or they went back to back. So I would say they're 98 or 99. We should know that before getting on here. So my bad.
Well,
but
the Griffey
it's
Max 3, I remember. Oh, go ahead.
No, please.
No, I was trying to think of the time frame. So I remember I got the Griffey Max 3. I want to say I bought it the same. Well, I didn't buy it school shoes wise when shoes were like dirt cheap. Like I got that Griffey Max 3 and I got a pair of playoff 11s for school, and I was like in what second grade, first or second grade. I can't remember.
According to Soul Collector, the Griffey Max 2 came out in 97.
Okay.
Cool.
So maybe just got a retro, or I don't know.
See, the trick to knowing or appearing like you know anything about shoes is just knowing what year certain shoes released and it's doing math. So I always hated them. I'm not going to lie. The second one's kind of cool. The first one's where it's at. But the third one is like, ooh, honey.
I love the third one.
What are you thinking?
What is you doing?
You love the third one? I mean, Ro, do you have any thoughts about the later? I guess
I kind of want to. I concede my time to the gentleman from Houston. Tell us why you love the third one, Mike, because it's a tough sell for me.
Pure nostalgia for me. I know it's like one of those. It was better as a cleat. Like I'm trying to pull up pictures, which is really weird. That is pretty difficult to find. The Griffey Max 3 in images. Hold on. Because you can find you find a lot of the cleat versions, but the shoe itself, I think, is just very, very nice. I mean,
so correct me if I'm wrong, guys. Like the laces being on the side, that was similar to what we saw with the Shake and Destruct, right? Like this almost seems like the baseball equivalent of that shoe.
Yeah. Let me see if I can pull a picture.
I mean, brands have been experimenting with asymmetrical lacing for as long as
for sure. But I mean, I just remember, and maybe it's because the Last Dance is forever stuck in my head, but that Rodman shoe, especially in that white colorway, was the first time like, holy crap, this is as asymmetrical as a shoelace can get. And now kind of finding that Griffey Max 3, and I was able to find it because it took me some searching as well, to your point, Mike. And that's the impression that I get. It's just for the Griffey Max 3, we have that diagonal Velcro strap over it, which now actually in hindsight kind of looks cool. So I may be walking that back, but I still kind of wanted to hear it from you, Mike, because you seem confident about it. Your love of the 3 right off the bat.
Yeah.
Pardon the bad pun.
No, it's just the different take on it. And it always helps the materials. It's like a completely full leather shoe. And again, it's just different. It just represented something, a peak athlete at the time. It didn't look like everything else. Everything, of course, was super, heavy Jordan at that point in time with things, that was 1998. So that was Jordan 13 time, Jordan 14. So I don't know, it was just something that was very just perfect for his era. And I think if it retro today, I'll buy a pair immediately. But again, it's just something that is very just different than everything we looked at. Maybe Shake and Destruct would be one of those more similar to it. But again, that was a different shoe as well. So I really like the chance they took on it, even though it is not definitely not well liked among the masses. I'd say that much.
If you didn't buy the retro that came out and held on to that money, you could buy a pair of Wave Runners.
Well, they're not retroing, so I mean, what are we like?
in general, I'm not gonna ever let that go.
I know you're not.
Never let go, Jack. Never let go. Peace, Jack.
I got off my door.
Deuces. Yeah, I hope somebody ever does a splicing of Never Let Go, and then it's a shot of Leonidas from 300 kicking Leo straight in the mouth and flying back into the water.
I think he just gave away free game, man. That's a good idea.
That's what I'm here for.
So here's some bad game, and we're gonna make this the second to last shoe. We're gonna end on another note, but I need to know which one of you put the Air Max Duncan on here from 2000.
It wasn't me.
Web technology.
Are you sure, Mike? You're the biggest San Antonio Spurs fan here.
No, I actually saw it. I tried to erase it. I'm like, nope, delete.
No. I loved it. It kind of looks like if Venom had a sneaker. And it goes back to the fact that Mike has nostalgia associated with the Griffey 3. Same for me. Your boy doesn't know how to tie shoes until he was, let's say, 21. So anything with no laces gets a Siskel and Ebert 2 thumbs up. So that's why. And then Tim Duncan is my Kobe in a sense, where that's my ride or die guy. I will maintain he is probably as dominant of a player as an era can have that's not named LeBron or Michael. So just had to shout the shoe out because ugliness sometimes rides.
Man, that shoe's awful. I'll happily take though 2002's Duncan 2, which is also an awful shoe, but it's so plain and boring. It's like that's the Duncan signature shoe.
That makes more sense.
Trying to put web tech on whatever the hell is going on there. That's too busy for a man who's not busy. The Duncan 2 is the Toyota Corolla of 2002 Air Max. And Tim Duncan historically is the Toyota Corolla. He's going to run for 20 years phenomenally. Not going to win any speed competitions, but you're going to have 20 years of them. So the Corolla of shoes, the Tim Duncan 2, and the Corolla of basketball players.
Total Foam Posite Max should have been a shoe. He stated. I mean, I may not be a bit Tim Duncan fan, but I can respect his foam game.
I can kind of be okay with the Total Air Foam Posite Max because it's so big and clunky like he was at a young age. But it's a little too flashy, but he's young, so like the flashiness
he didn't do any better.
Makes more sense. The silver made sense. Just, I mean, even Tim Duncan's Adidas stuff was just so boring. Like, but it worked. I mean, it's the dude has to wear it. It's his brand. What's more of a safe brand than boring? Like, that's a good brand in my book.
I just want there to be a picture somewhere where he's wearing a crisp linen shirt, some solid Florida dad jean shorts, and those Air Max Duncans. And just, what the hell?
Nope, he wore sandals on his day off. So they have that same picture, but him in closed-toe sandals. Going barbecue after these, whatever he was doing.
Yeah, I mean, so the zoom up tempo, I mean, the Viz zoom up tempo, he had some good shoes, but the Duncan 1 is not one of those good shoes. So let's end here. Let's end on another shoe that is releasing very soon, the Air Max 1996 from 1996.
It should stay there.
Yeah,
really?
It's not my favorite of. I mean, if you have to give me an option between 95, 96, 97, 98, the 96 is my least favorite of those four. Mm-hmm. It's not necessarily a bad shoe. I mean, I brag on it, but it's not a bad Air Max. I've seen more. I think more.
I will defer to my graduate professors, Robbie and Mike, about this, but I saw the 96 and I was just thinking, hey, is this the Wave Runner of its day in terms of the aesthetics?
Could be. A lot of overlays. What's funny is it reminds me of like the Air Max Pillar because you have very hard
exactly
lines.
What I think of
very hard lines on that shoe going at a weird direction.
But the Pillar's nicer to me because it's just like this big chunky monstrosity. We know what the Pillar is, but when you come after Air Max 95 and you like precede Air Max 97, who was smoking on the job that came out with the 96? Like someone literally was just like nonchalant. Here's a shoe, guys. No disrespect to whoever designed that, but it just didn't. If you look at the line of Air Maxes to, I guess, a certain degree, that one just didn't seem to fit in what is now just that legacy of sneakers.
I am not going to let you besmirch the great name of designer Sergio Lozano, okay? He's an outdoorsman. He enjoyed the crashing of the waves, and he decided, I'm going to put it on a shoe. Hence the Wave Runner. Thank you. That's my TED Talk.
Well, I'll tell you, that has more to do with waves than the Wave Runner does. Like, God knows why he came up with that name.
I'd rather have the 96 than the Pillar. Pillar's it's way too much shoe in a bad way. So I mean, there's other shoes like the Command Force that it's way too much. There's a lot of too much shoe out there, but
let's just end on that note. I feel like we can't top that.
Yeah, that's a big meaty sandwich of shoe.
Awful lot of shoe you got there, buddy.
All right. Is that a whole bunch of shoe, or are you happy to see me? Can't it be both? I'm happy that you tuned into this episode. Thanks for our walk back through time down Air Max lane. What's a pair of Air Maxes you remember or have fond feelings towards or puts a happiness in your socks? What works for you? Let us know. If you're watching this on YouTube, make sure you like this video and subscribe to the Sneaker History channel. We've been popping out lots of great different content on there. It's a good time. I might even start putting recipes on there to try to get people to go to it more.
We're gaining recipes.
Recipe exchange. I'm Robbie, though. You can find me at RAHBEE702. Mike, where can they find your cook group?
Well, only cook group I'm in is 1-1 Barbecuing with my Darth Vader apron. But other than that, you can find me on Sneaker History, Instagram and Twitter at MadWatcher789, and YouTube at Mike Guillory. Rohit, where you at, buddy?
I'm on Twitter at Roheezy, on Instagram at RoadM13, and vegetarians, Mike truly is Darth Vader when he's behind the grill. So
nice. Make sure you're following at Sneaker History on all major platforms. Thanks everybody for tuning in, and have yourself a good rest of your day. Bye.
See ya.
Live long and prosper.
Hey everyone, this is Nick again. Before you take off, I wanted to thank you for listening to the Sneaker History Podcast. We just launched our new merch, including tees, stickers, keychains, and a bunch of other pieces you can grab to show your support for the podcast. You can purchase it now through our companion site, sittingtreasure.com. You can also get access to more episodes of the podcast by joining our Discord community at patreon.com/sneakerhistory. Plus, we've got a bunch of other fun things going on in the community, including trivia nights, giveaways, access to sneaker raffles from around the world, release announcements, and my favorite, just good people helping good people get the sneakers they want. Plus, we're not bought by advertisers, investors, or other big money. I'm confident in saying this is the best sneaker community I've ever been a part of. We've also teamed up with a few partners to offer our supporters discounts. You can find some in the links for this episode and even more in our Discord. Give us a try, and if you don't enjoy it, you can always cancel the membership at any time. Last but not least, tell someone you like their kicks today. You never know how far a simple compliment can take you, and we all know how good it feels to be on the receiving end of someone showing appreciation. Thank you all for the support, and we'll catch you on the next episode. Peace. Hey everyone, this is Nick again. Before you take off, do us a solid and head over to Apple Podcasts to leave us a review. Give us a rating on Spotify and Amazon Music, and make sure you're subscribed to our YouTube channel because we have even more video content coming soon. Speaking of new content, we have an amazing community of sneaker enthusiasts that hang out in our Sneaker History Discord on a daily basis. While sneakers is a connection point that brought us all together, we've all discovered countless shared passions that we have in common with each other. We recently launched a couple of new podcasts directly from our community. One of them is a Formula One podcast. If you're an F1 fan like me, the Exhaust Notes podcast is your weekly fix of Formula One fun. It's hosted by myself, Rohit Malhotra, and Todd Yates. New episodes drop every Tuesday. I've been wearing fitted hats for years and collecting my favorite teams since I was a little leaguer. It has been awesome to see so many new fans getting into fitteds in recent years. Crown and Stitch is our new talk show about fitted hats with Dexter, Keith, and myself, where we talk about fitted hats, snapbacks, throw in some obscure hats because we all kind of like some funky stuff once in a while, don't we? Copping, collecting, and so much more. New episodes drop every Wednesday. Hit the links in the show notes for this episode to give our new shows a listen, and be on the lookout for more new podcasts dropping soon. Last but not least, tell someone you like their kicks today. You never know how far a simple compliment can take you, and we all know how good it feels to have someone show their appreciation. Thank you all for the support, and we'll catch you on the next episode. Peace.